everyone, today's video is going to be a design show and tell. Now it's been a while since I last did one of these, so if you weren't subscribed when that last one happened, basically what happens in these videos is I take a project that I worked on the design of recently, I show you the end result and talk you through my design process. And for this show and tell, I'm going to be showing you what turned out to be one of my most favourite design projects that I've ever worked on, and it just so happened to be the first project for my new job. The project is the 2017 annual report on the state of the blogging industry. Now how this report came about is that last year ConvertKit, the company that I now work for, did a lot of research. They surveyed over 850 bloggers and asked them a bunch of different questions about how they work, where they work, how much money they make from their blog, how they make money from their blog, why they started, their goals, how they define success and happiness, a whole lot of different things. Anyway, they took all that data and made a bunch of graphs in Google Sheets to get some insights from it, and then they wrote a report that was over 10,000 words long. And then came my job, which was to lay out that report and make those graphs beautiful, make all the information really easy to digest and consume, because there was a lot there. So here is a look at the finished report. This report took the form of a PDF, which ended up being 60 pages, and also an online version. So this project involved document design, graph design, a lot of typography, and also web design. So a lot of things that I love working on. One of the main design challenges with this project was the sheer amount of information that I had to work with. It was quite overwhelming at first. So like with most things, I just started small and I took the first few pieces of information that get displayed and I started to create some graphs because I wanted to develop a style for the graphs throughout that could be repeated, you know, so that the graphs would all tie together and they'd look cohesive, but I also wanted to make sure that things didn't get too repetitive, which would be easy to happen when there's a lot of bar graphs. Because this is a project for a company that already has a brand, that was really good because it gave me some constraints to work with, so I didn't have to think about the fonts or the colors to use because they already had brand fonts and brand colors. So I was able to dive in and start designing some of the graphs. There ended up being a few different graph types throughout this report. There was some thick bar charts, both horizontal and vertical. Then there was some thinner line bar charts for when there was a lot of different variables. There's line charts, there's pie graphs, and there's also some where I use the area of a circle to represent the percentage number as well. So hopefully you can see from looking at all these graphs that there is some variety, but they do still fit together well and look like they come from the same place. Something else I did when I was getting really sick of bar charts and there wasn't really another graph type that made sense to represent them was reached using icons. I did this graph here that was technically a bar chart, but the bars were made up of stacks of money instead, and then stacks of users for this one. Consistency is really important with graphs, not only in the types of graphs that you use, but also with the key and the colors that you use to represent things. So throughout this, I tried to use the blue and light blue to represent the pro and non-pro bloggers. And I always had, for example, when all of the segments were represented in a graph, I always had them in the exact same order, so that makes it easier to read as you go along. So in each graph that you see that looks like this, the colors represent the same thing, and that makes it much easier to understand and also to compare data as well. I don't think I said yet, but I used Illustrator to create the graphs, and then I copy and pasted them into InDesign, which was the design software that I mostly used for laying out this report. I focused on laying out the PDF first because that was kind of like the end product of this project, and then I took the styles from that and applied them to the web template that I created as well. For the typography of this report, I was really careful to make sure I set up a lot of character styles and paragraph styles so that all my headings and body copy or whatever was always going to be consistent and the same throughout. And using those features is so important in a long document like this because you don't want to be going through 60 whole pages and changing the font color, for example, if you find that perhaps it's just a little bit off. Because this was such a long document, there was a few design decisions I made to try and break it up more and help you keep reading through it. The main one being my section title pages. So on these pages we have an introduction to the section, and these gradient backgrounds are only used on the very first page, the cover of the report, and then on these sections. So you're instantly trained to know that, like, okay, when I see one of these, some new type of information is coming my way. Within those sections though, I also had some different background colors to break things up. I had this light gray, white, and also this dark gray. That way, as you're scrolling through, you're not just getting bored with seeing the same white background constantly as you scroll, because things are looking different and things are being mixed up, and so it just keeps your brain a little more switched on when you're trying to engage in and digest this information. This is a very content heavy report, so there's not a whole lot of decorative elements going on throughout it because the graphs sort of are their own decoration and they're their own, you know, interesting pieces that I wanted people to be looking at. But there is one little piece that I added throughout this report, is this dot grid that you first see on the opening page, and then it's repeated again sometimes at the sides of pages when there was blank space that felt like it could use some texture. And this dot grid is also behind every graph as well, so giving it its own frame, I suppose. I just thought it was a nice thing to add to bring a bit of texture to this piece, but without overwhelming it and shadowing the importance of the information. Moving on to take a closer look at the web version. Like I said before, it took styles from the PDF report, so I didn't have to think it from the start about typography or anything like that, because all those styles had already been decided. But there was obviously challenges like the navigation to think about. I ended up coming up with this table of contents box which half overlays the header, and I'm really proud of it. I think it works really well. So you can just click through to the different sections in here, and I also really like the way it adapts if you're on a smaller screen size too. At the end of every page on this report, it was really important to drive people to read the next section, so it was really easy to get to, so they can just click through from there. And also, of course, on every page we've got the form to download the PDF version. I am really proud of this report. I think I counted that I designed over 70 graphs for it, and that was a lot of work and a lot of data to be working with, but I'm really proud of the result. I think it turned out really well, and it seems like people are enjoying it, which is really great. If you would like to read it as well, then there'll be a link down below. You should definitely go check it out and let me know what you think of it as well. I really hope you enjoyed hearing about it, and if there's anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to know more background on, then please feel free to ask down below in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer. If you like this type of video as well, make sure you give it a thumbs up so I can know that I should do more of them. Thank you for watching this video. If you are new to my channel, then welcome, and please hit subscribe because I make new design videos every single week. So hopefully I will see you next week for a new one. Bye!